Well, this time I want to ramble a bit about something, and here and there I'm going to insert some outdoor footage from a stroll that I took recently so that you don't have to just stare at my face all the time. So, something that I saw a while ago actually. I've had that tab up and I've been meaning to do this video for a while but didn't get around to it until now. So, I saw something about Ronda Rousey, after she lost against Holly Holm. As I said, it's a while ago by now. I didn't have a very good impression of her until then, because I saw some of the things she said, the typical trash talking that fighters do in the UFC, and it just seemed very disagreeable. She didn't seem like a likable person at all. And when she lost, I was like, yeah, you were finally shut up, and that's what you get for talking shit, and that sort of thing. That was my reaction. But then I read about what has been going on with her afterwards. And apparently she was devastated by the defeat, as you can imagine, because she was hyped as the undefeated UFC fighter at that time, and everything was going well. And then suddenly she lost. And she literally had suicidal thoughts, which until then I had no idea about. I would have guessed that, judging by her cocky attitude, that she's all self-confident and everything, and would just bounce right back and just be like, yep, I'm going to kick your ass next time. That sort of thing. But with public figures, things are not always as they seem. And the whole trash talking thing, you see that everywhere in the UFC. It's an outright strategy. You're trying to put the opponent down, erode their confidence, boost your own, that sort of thing. It's all part of the sport, unfortunately. Personally, I hate it, but that's just how it goes. And it's hard to really blame them for it. So apparently she lost her father to suicide, and then she had suicidal thoughts of her own after that, which when you think about it, it must be pretty damn devastating if that's what you build your self-image on and your confidence. And, everybody is, judging you by your sports performance. And then afterwards, when the first defeat, I imagine, is always the worst, because then you suddenly go from undefeated to, well, you can lose like everybody else. Similar things have happened to others. Mike Tyson, of course, was considered invincible pretty much for a time, and then eventually he did lose against Holyfield. So things like that. And that's something that, as sports fans, that's really not necessarily on people's radar, because they just look at the public figure, they look at the performance, they look at how they act on camera, and then that sort of thing, and they judge people accordingly. And it may be very wrong sometimes. So you may be wondering, why the heck am I even talking about that? Well, how does it matter? I just think it would do us good to remember that there is a person behind the public image with their own problems, their flaws, their emotions, basically giving people the benefit of the doubt, which I personally generally try to do. I don't always succeed. Sometimes I see something like a comment, for example, or something that a person says in a video, or whatever it may be, and I just think, wow, what an asshole. Because I just see that one statement, and it goes through my personal filter, of course, as it always does, and then I come to conclusions, and oh, well, that's an asshole. Even though we're all assholes, really, at times. We all have our bad moments. We all say stupid things sometimes. We are all in a state of mind where we just don't act very nicely towards others. In private everyday life, that's not a problem, because there is nobody who's watching you at almost all times. There's no constant well, maybe in the workplace or at school, or in some situations, you are pretty much under constant judgment. But it's worse, of course, for public figures, because they're being scrutinized all the time. And I just think it's good to occasionally take a moment and realize that, hey, maybe I'm too quick in my judgment, or too harsh, or I've heard this person say 3 sentences or something, and now I presume to be able to judge the character. That's not how it goes. I mean, you could say that social media is all about that, judging other people and getting into arguments and fights and just talk shit about one another. It's just what people do on social media. That's a thing. Yeah, and it is, but that doesn't mean it's good. I found YouTube actually drives the point home because sometimes I look at an older video for whatever reason. Sometimes YouTube actually recommends my own videos to myself, which is stupid. But, or sometimes maybe I get a comment on an older video or something, and then I go back to, what was that about again? And then I find, wow, I really sound like a douchebag in that video. Or what I said there? No, that's bullshit. I don't agree with that anymore. What is this? What was I thinking? People have this psychological tendency of just always assuming that they're being constant, like their opinions and views and everything. It's the same. I think the same, or I act the same as I did 10 years ago. I mean, not everybody, of course, but I've seen that a lot of times where people believe that their values and everything are unchanging, and then it's all the same. But if you actually revisit what has been recorded a while ago, and you notice that, well, yeah, I did change a lot, didn't I? So I totally don't agree with that anymore. And so I understand, based on that somebody who sees one of those older videos may come to a completely different conclusion, may just think, oh, that guy's an idiot or an asshole or whatever. And they're partially right, I'm sure, but you just jump to a false conclusion based on, I guess you could say, insufficient evidence. And you could say it's no big deal. I mean, what's the harm done? A random person on the internet comes to a wrong impression of a person. Who cares, right? But it does contribute to the way we interact in society, does it not? Because if we have this mindset of, oh yeah, I'm just going to listen to 2 or 3 sentences that this person says, and then I'm just going to judge them. Then I'm going to be like, yep, you're an asshole, or you're this or that. Even more so when it comes to labels. Like, oh, you're this political affiliation. Like, you're a conservative, or you're a liberal, or you're whatever the heck. Oh, you support this political candidate? That must mean that this, and that. You believe this, you believe that. No, I don't. No, but you're this. So you must have all these positions. No, I don't. No, shut up, you're that. I hate you. That's kind of how it goes, and it's ridiculous. I mean, it's really stupid if you think about it. But I guess that's really kind of my main point of this video, kind of a reminder to stop and think more often than we do, and realize that you just have your own biases and your own ways of, well, as said, jumping to conclusions. I've used that term several times. It's about time I stop repeating myself. But that's pretty much it. So I'm not sure if there's really a great point to this, but sometimes I just feel like talking about what's on my mind, and yeah. Maybe it's the wrong kind of attitude to have on a large channel, but I still have the small channel mentality. I still think the way I did with regards to YouTube, to making videos back in 2010, 2011, when I just did, random vlogs and stuff occasionally. And it's still the same thing. It might not be a good idea, but it's just what I do. So anyway, enough of your time wasted. Thanks for watching.